All right, so why am I making this video? I wanted to make a video essay because I'm very fixated on that at the moment. Shout out to Defunctland, and I needed a topic. I'm an artist and a recording engineer, and I've always been really fascinated by microphones, so I figured that'd be a good place to start. Might even do like a series on different companies or whatever. But to me, it was very obvious to start with today's company, Blue. This is because throughout the years of buying gear and working at Guitar Center, we don't need to talk about it, I was always kind of interested in this company. They've had like many changes over the years. I knew they had an interesting history, so I figured there would already be a video about their history on YouTube, but not really. Then I went to make this video and looked up their Wikipedia, and even there, it's missing a ton of information and kind of just skips a lot of important details. Okay, real quick actually, there is a video about Blue that I just found while making this, which is by creator Hayden, no resemblance, and he also mentions that there is a shockingly very little amount of information about this company.
The company is being completely washed away with no trace other than articles and certain Reddit threads completely independent of Logitech. BlueMics.com just leads you straight to the Logitech G page. You can't find any history of Blue on the website, and the Wikipedia article is very short.
So either nobody cares about them or they've been purposely pushed aside for some reason, but either way, I know I care, and now you're gonna hear about it. Also, if any of the info in this video is wrong, I apologize. I'm doing the best that I can. All right, let's go. Martin's Salsperens? The other guy didn't know how to pronounce it either, but I'm just gonna call him Martins because I know I'm saying that wrong, so from now on it's just Martins. Martins was born in 1943 in Latvia, a drummer in an R&B band and also an audio engineer. Martins engineered at the Latvian Conservatory of Music, and in the 1980s he met Skipper Wise, a musician from America who would travel to Europe, and Martin would repair his gear, I think. They developed a working relationship so great that Skipper says Martins would even stay with him in his studio in America, and eventually the two decided to start a company, Blue Microphones. Blue, which stands for Baltic Latvian Blue, which stands for Baltic Latvian Universal Electronics, began in 1995. They quickly became known for their artistic and unique microphone designs. They seem to have started with the Blue Bottle, which at least in physical design is inspired by the Neumann CMV3, which is actually the first ever mass-produced condenser microphone in history. Here it is with Hitler. The mic is unique in that the capsule is swappable, so you can buy different heads that all have unique sounds and virtually kind of have multiple microphones in one. On Gearspace, there's a post from 2004 about the Blue Bottle, where the user claims it might be one of the first ever made. Sure enough, Skipper Wise himself responds to confirm that it's true, and that it's the 18th one ever built from their very first run in 1997, and also that he sent one to Willie Nelson. Okay. From the late 90s to the early 2000s, Blue's catalog consisted of the Bottle, the Blueberry, the Dragonfly, the Kiwi, the Mouse, the Cactus, the Baby Bottle, the Bluebird, and the Stage 1, which also used the swappable capsule idea from the Bottle. They actually originally marketed that as a spin-off company called the Red, but eventually just dissolved that company and made them Blue mics. Later on came the Woodpecker, a phantom-powered active ribbon microphone, the Spark, don't get me started on this one, the Reactor, as well as a handful of dynamic mics and things like that. These mics were all known to be very well made, high quality pieces of gear. They had great style, great voicings, were well built, genuinely very useful microphones. Then they had these ball style mics, the 8-ball, the kickball, and the Ball, all released in the early 2000s. They're dynamic or cardioid, just like normal microphones, but you may notice that they have a similar resemblance to the now fairly popular Snowball, which didn't release until a year later in 2005. We'll get to that in a bit, but basically, the Snowball was Blue's first microphone with a converter built in so it could plug in directly to the computer with USB. You didn't need a dedicated audio interface for recording. They later released a second USB mic in 2009, the Yeti, which I'm sure you're unfortunately familiar with if you've ever seen a podcast or YouTube video. Okay, actually, I said I would get into this later, but I can't help myself. So real quick, the Yeti and the Snowball are like not Good. I think they became popular for their cheap price, easy use, unique design, which is why a lot of the Blue mics became popular. And the only reason why that's bad is because they don't sound good. It doesn't help that a lot of people who bought them didn't know where to speak into because of the ambiguous design. So most people end up talking into like the top or the wrong side, but yeah. The thing is, with all their other mics, they're all really high-class microphones. They get tons of use in professional studios, and they're priced from like $600 to like $5,000, so they're very professional level. The ball mics were dynamic mics, cheap in the way that 58s are cheap, so still high quality and useful, but the USB version and the Snowball, then later the Yeti, are just not the same. They're not large diaphragm condensers, and it's obvious when you hear them because they have like this tinny sound that a lot of those mics kind of have. Nowadays, they're literally webcam mics. People mostly use them for budget podcasts or Zoom calls. They're still available to this day for $40 on Amazon. I guess that's better than nothing if $40 is all you have, but yeah. I'll give them one thing though. The Yeti is the world's first THX certified microphone. THX certification is for speakers, so I don't really know what that means. And after some research on forums, it seems it means absolutely nothing. But hey, good for them. Hope that marketing works out. Oh, no, wait, it doesn't because the whole company doesn't even exist anymore. Right. Okay, all right, moving on. Then around 2006, Blue gets into their first bit of controversy. So there's this guy, Juris Zarins, who seemingly headed a design company called Violet Design. Apparently, his company, a division of SIA Scruples, was, I know I'm messing up all these pronunciations so bad. They're all like Latvian companies or whatever. But division of SIA Scruples was selected by Blue to do some design and manufacturing for the original line of Blue mics. So Blue mics were not designed in-house. They were designed by this third-party company. Following the success of Blue's microphones, these guys decided, hey, we're already manufacturing the mics, let's just put them out under our name and make more money, which violated its non-compete and intellectual property agreement with Blue, and this resulted in a lawsuit. The new name that they were selling under the mics was Violet Designs. That later dissolved and is today JZ Designs, which is still a company. So we'll get to that in a bit. They actually filed for the design registration in 2005, but since they were the same exact models, Blue denied the registrations, asserting that they were the same as their products that they had already been making for years now. Blue eventually filed suit in California Supreme Court, including allegation of trade libel, false advertising, defamation, and breach of contract. I believe they eventually settled out of court with the agreement that Juris just couldn't use those designs anymore. Hilariously, on the current JZ Microphones website, Juris's most recent company, it states that he started Blue Microphones himself in '98, even though we know that's not true because we know it was Skipper and Martins who started it in '95. But yeah, he also mentions that he sold Blue in 2007 before starting a new company. But then the new company would then just do the same design. So like from the 90s to 2004, Blue mics were manufactured in Latvia, but after this whole lawsuit business, I don't really know if it's related to the lawsuit, but after around that time, they moved production to China and some of their higher end mics were built in the US. In 2008, Skipper and Martin sold the company to Transom Capital, a private equity firm in California. As the 2000s progressed, home studio recording became a lot more popular, gaming became more popular, podcasting became a lot more popular. It was kind of obvious that the expensive condensers weren't really a priority for Blue. It was, I guess, obvious that the money was more in the cheap USB mic, so they really focused on that. Okay, so then in 2013, the Riverside Company, another private equity firm, acquired Blue microphones from Transom Capital. I don't know why this company was passed around like this so many times, but you figure it can't be great, right? I don't know, whatever. According to a 2013 article, it was published, Riverside plans to help the company expand globally while deepening its share in all markets, in addition to developing new products. According to Riverside, Blue is poised for steady growth in the global digital microphone market driven by Skype and consumer-created media. Okay, so we see where the problem started. Great. Okay, moving on. Also, RIP to Skype real quick. Blue CEO at the time was a man named John Mayer, no relation, who had previously also worked at Guitar Center. Hey, twin. He was CEO since 2009, and he brought the company to the point where it could be purchased by Transom, and then again purchased by the Riverside Company until it was purchased again by Logitech. In July 2018, Logitech bought Blue for $117 million. John Mayer transitioned nicely into Logitech's executive team and by 2020 left the company entirely. It seems as though he knew what was coming because by 2023, not even 5 years after the acquisition, Logitech announced plans to retire the Blue brand entirely, morphing what was left of their USB mics into Logitech's gaming line and then just canceled everything else. I don't really know how to end this video. This is kind of it. It's just a memorial to a company that was once really cool and really unique, and unfortunately now probably dead forever. There's some articles and people looking to revive the old Blue bottle mic with Martin's somewhat involved in the design of that. So, there could be more stuff in the future from Blue or from the original creators. Skipper is still, around and doing stuff. So, we'll see if there's anything that kind of comes of it. But as of right now, it's just the Yeti, and it's not even a Blue mic. It's just some Logitech gaming thing. Also, notable mention that kind of didn't make it into the script, Blue also did modifications of microphones during this time. They had a U47 clone type thing. There's a lot of companies that make U47 clones, which basically try to get as close to the vintage Neumann / Telefunken U47 as they can. Blue didn't really do that though. It seems, the more I looked at forums, that Blue bought a bunch of vintage U47s that maybe weren't in working condition. They gutted the bodies and then just put their own circuits, tubes, capsules, whatever inside the bodies. It seems as though David Bach actually chimed in on this. David Bach, famed microphone designer and manufacturer. So he kind of seemed to clarify that they don't share really much in common with U47s other than the body, which is literally not even a clone of U47s. They are from vintage U47s. There's actually one for sale on Vintage King right now, so you can buy one if you really want one. But they don't have, some of them have good reviews, but they don't seem to be similar in sound to U47s. They're not repaired U47s, which I thought they were for a long time, or even modified U47s. They seem to just be completely different microphones with different tubes, different capsules, different power supply. But they exist. If there's any way that I should end this video, it would be from this quote on Skipper Wise's actual website, where he says, in 2013, Transom Capital sold all the interest in Blue microphones to another private equity company, which ended up being Riverside. We knew from the outset that if we continued to be successful, this eventually would happen. For Martins and I, it was our good fortune to sell the company twice over, and our time had come to an end after 5 years since the sale. I am proud of the success and are particularly thankful to the people that I worked with creating products that have been visions of ours for over an 18-year period. You can visit the Blue Microphones website at bluemic.com, which unfortunately this hyperlink probably goes to nothing, right? Oh shit, it just redirects to Logitech's site, fuck. And it just shows the Yeti. Oh god, wow, this is so heartbreaking. Damn. They even call this thing Blue. Okay, anyway. For Skipper and Martins, I honestly don't think this is a sad story. I think they started a really cool company, have a sick legacy of doing a lot of different things in music and audio, were very talented and got very far with it, made a lot of money, made a successful company that was able to be purchased twice. Those are all good things. Sometimes starting a company and being able to sell it for some good money is kind of the best option. Unfortunately, Logitech decided it wasn't worth it to keep it around, and now it's gone. All right, well, see you later.